Hello and welcome to another course, in this case the Ponziani Opening for white after e4, e5. I'm Grandmaster Damian Lemos here for the Chess World, and without further ado, let's jump right into the action. So, the Ponziani variation arises after e4, e5, knight f3, knight c6, and here is where white diverts a little bit from the main lines. You know, the Italian with bishop c4, bishop b5, that would be the Spanish, also known as Ruy Lopez, or d4, the Scottish. Now, the line we'll take a look as white here is playing c3. I really like this move. I think it's underestimated because it's not played that often. That being said, c3, if you think about it, we're not breaking any opening rules. We are supporting our center. Clearly, we want to play d4, and now we've got a pawn supporting the d4 square. So, what's not to like here after c3? It's a really nice line for white, and I've noticed it was played a lot by top grandmasters as well. In fact, one of the games that caught my attention when I wanted to study the Ponziani into more detail is a game played by two very strong grandmasters, David Howell against Master of Silis. That's the first game you'll find in the BGN files, and I want to start the intro with that game. Then we'll have an approach where we see more lines, like line by line, like a theory section approach. But first, I really like to start our course with this game. So, after c3, we'll see that black has a few moves here to consider. In this game, black plays what we can call the most natural move, knight to f6. And here, we get the first surprise by white. We are not gonna defend the pawn on e4. The idea in the Ponziani is to play d4, therefore attacking black's center as well. Now, again, we'll have videos where we analyze all the lines on a move-by-move basis, but here we'll see what happened in this game. Black played knight takes e4. Now, taking on d4 is another major alternative, but here black goes knight takes e4, and white goes d5. Not the only move. We'll see other ideas as well. d5, it attacks the knight on c6. Hopefully, we'll get the pawn back on e5. So, that's actually what happens in this game. Black plays knight b8. And here, we play knight takes e5. So, the tension in the center has cleared up. We can see that our pawn on d5 is giving us more space, so that's a bonus. And it's the kind of position that, unless black knows what black's doing, he could be into, he could run into trouble. So let me explain why. We're playing white. We've got more development. There are some risks. We've got tricks on the e-file, same as happens in the Petrov, where we play queen e2, and then we've got an x-ray on the e-file. The same could apply for black. Yes, maybe, as we'll see, black played queen e7 in this game, but since we've got more space and we're playing white, we've got the first mover advantage, so that means we've got more development. A good example of this is black playing bishop c5 here. The move looks great. However, after queen here, black is already in big trouble. We attack the knight on e4, and we also target the pawn on g7. So, what's black gonna play here? Knight takes f2 with a fork. Unfortunately, that doesn't work because we play queen takes g7. We attack the rook on h8. So after this is actually an excellent line for white. we don't have to move our rook on h1. I mean, we could. I'm not sure black has an immediate punishment after that, but if we follow the engine instructions, and that's the beauty of knowing the lines when our opponent will be clueless, we can play bishop e2. Now, we sacrifice rook, so if black doesn't take, then we'll play rook f1, and the pressure on the f file is just too much. So if black captures the rook, here we play bishop g5, we attack the queen, step 1, the queen is semi-trapped, and we should also add bishop h5. So in less than 10 moves, we got an absolutely winning position. The engine here recommends taking the bishop on g5 for black, but of course that's just the same as resigning. If we get the queen, that's just a win for us. Now if black plays f6, we play bishop h5, and we'll checkmate next. So the question you're probably asking here is, what happens if black plays bishop to e7? And here, I think we have to keep it simple. The engine likes knight takes f7, and that's leading to a checkmate in 7 moves. Sorry, knight takes f7 is checkmate in 7. With bishop h5, it takes us one more move to checkmate. This is checkmate in 8 if black plays all the best moves. But I think bishop h5 is easier to understand. So let's see what happens here. After bishop takes, we take the pawn on f7. Now if rook takes, queen takes f7 is checkmate. So king e7. Now again, we've got one of those lines where one move leads to a checkmate in 6 or 7 moves, and the other one is quicker. So let's go for the quicker one here. Bishop h5 is better than taking the bishop. So here we got for a discovered check, king d6, knight here. Now our queen is ready to come to d4. So takes, queen d4. We're about to see a really nice checkmate here. Knight e5, or knight a5 for that matter. King here. Now we can play bishop e2, king a5, and now finally we get the checkmate. There are other checkmates as well, but we can see that by playing simple moves and by giving our opponent the chance to go wrong early on in the opening, we get a lovely checkmate. And this rarely happens in a main line in the Spanish or the Italian. So let me rewind here all the way to this position. It's an innocent looking line where black can easily go wrong. So let's rewind for a second. I know we're still not analyzing this on a move by move basis. I prefer showing you games where we can learn a lot of ideas. I think that's the best approach. So for the intro, we'll continue focusing on the ideas here. So we got the pawn back on e5, and we already know that bishop c5, it's not good for black. It looks great, it looks like a natural move, but it actually, I could say that's close to losing for black if black's not precise. If black doesn't play with an engine's precision, bishop c5 is already big trouble. Now, one more line after queen g4 that we haven't analyzed yet is bishop takes f2 here. Bishop takes f2 check. I don't think our opponents would go for this, because if black takes on f2, it makes more sense to take with a knight. At least that's a fork. Here, after king e2, now both pieces are hanging. Knight e4, bishop f2, pawn on g7 as well, on top of the two hanging pieces. So there's nothing black can do here to save the piece. So bishop takes f2. It's can eliminate that move from our analysis. Now there's one more move, and that's the engine move here. Easier said than done, by the way. Black could castle, but this is just sacrificing a piece. After queen takes e4, d6. If we move our knight, then rook e8 will trap our queen on the x-ray. So here we can play bishop to d3. You can tell that this is still very, very tricky for black to play because we threaten checkmate. Black has to play f5. We play queen c4, and still black is down a piece. It won't be easy for black to get the piece back. So in a nutshell, even if black finds the best line, we can see that white here has a stable opening advantage. There's still a lot of mistakes black can make here, such as taking the knight on e5. This is a good one because we play d6 check, we attack the queen, we got a reveal check, as I like calling it, and not to mention the bishop c5 is also hanging, so everything is hanging for black here. And if black takes with the knight, then b4 looks fine, knight e2, knight f3, and potentially knight g5, knight e6. So our pieces here are very well placed, our position, our moves are flowing, and black is definitely behind in terms of development. So even if black plays the best line after bishop c5, it's fair to say that white's better. So this line alone shows us that there's a lot of potential tricks in this opening. And let me come back to what I said before about playing a line like the Ponziani. Do you really expect that our opponents will be prepared against this? Probably not. Not to this level. So that's another advantage we'll have in our games. We'll know quite a bit, whilst our opponents, they'll be hanging by a thread trying to guess what's the best move. Once we go d5, knight b8, knight takes e5, they'll be thinking, does bishop c5 work? Does d6 work? Does queen e7 work? That's not a great idea. This is not a good position to be in move 6. So that's another bonus, another plus when you play the Ponziani. Worst case scenario, you get an equal position. You're not playing something that's bad for white. But the upside is that your opponents, they'll be clueless in most lines. So before we see what happened in this game, and in this game, as we mentioned earlier, black played queen e7, let's see what happens if black plays d6, and this gives us a nice picture of what could happen a lot in the Ponziani. This is a move that we don't have when we play the Spanish or the Italian, because we don't play c3 early on, but here we do. So d6, big mistake, we just play queen a4 check, and then we get the knight on e4. So here, after queen a4, we simply win a piece. King e7, well, we take the knight, and then that king is right in the middle. And if black plays bishop d7 or knight e7, we simply take the knight first, and then we pick up the other knight on e4. So keep this trick in mind. It's a line that happens more often than we think. It's a natural move for black to think of d6, and some of our opponents, they may not be aware of queen a4. So now that we saw bishop c5 and d6, is there any other key move we should mention before analyzing queen e7? Maybe queen f6. I think queen f6 is not as natural as queen e7, because black will have a lot of development issues here. We could even play knight g4, attacking the queen, defending the pawn f2. And the thing is, our pieces are getting out very fast, and black still trying to finish development. So it's not going to be easy for black. Again, we're castling next move. We'll play rook e1, and black is just dancing around with that queen. This should have a punishment. So here we can even castle. We can just ignore what black's doing, all because we've got tricks on the file. So if queen takes, the resulting pre-endgame here is probably winning for us because that pawn is a target. Our knight is easily coming out, our pieces are flowing, so like saying, so that's terrible for black. And if black takes the knight with a pawn, then we just take, and we get rook e1 next. So another potential line where black gets a terrible position. Alright, so black is running out of moves here. After d4, takes on e4, d5, knight b8. We take on e5. Let's see queen e7. Now, queen e7 makes a lot of sense. Attacks the knight on e5. And here we have to play queen to d4. If we don't play queen d4, if we move our knight back, then we lose to knight takes, c3 check. This is a trick that happens in the Petrov as well. It usually happens on the white side, but here we just lose the game to the discovered check. So this is something we have to know. After queen e7, we play queen d4, and now the idea is to simply castle as soon as we can, and we'll have a symmetrical pawn structure, but we do have more space. So in a nutshell, we get a one-sided game, in my opinion, where we just got more space, no weaknesses, and in today's chess, that's a pretty good excuse me, achievement in the opening, because it's good to have, as I like saying, a one-sided advantage. Black won't have a lot of counterplay, so let me show you a line that this didn't happen in the game, but I think it's key to know. If black plays knight f6, now d6 is a big threat, so we can play bishop e3. Now again, if you look at the pawn structure, symmetrical, so good for us. We have more space, we're ready to get our pieces out, and black still struggling with most pieces from the third rank backwards. So something like this we'll see in the main line, so we can use the same plans. We'll see in the main line here as well. So in the main game, after queen d4, black played d6. Now after d6, we have to be careful again, because if we move the knight, black will have a discovered check. The beauty of this line is we don't have to move the knight. We don't even have to take the knight on e4. That's possible, but that would lead to a pretty equal endgame after queen takes e5. So the move we're going to play is bishop b5 check. This is the key to this line. We get the bishop out with check. That makes our kingside castle plans quicker. And we'll still get that position with the symmetrical pawn structure with more space in the center. So after bishop b5 check, black plays knight to d7, we take, bishop takes, now we play knight takes d7. Believe it or not, there's nothing black can do to get a discovered check, a good one. So best black has here is knight f6 check, moving the knight back, checking our king in order to recapture the piece. So let me clear the arrows first. Let's see what's going on here, and also let's make sure all the other lines for black don't work. So let's start off by analyzing the most obvious move, and that's knight g3 check. Now, after knight g3, we can just block the check with bishop to e3. Now, black is going to take the rook. Now, our knight on d7 is not really lost, because we can always trade on f8. And here, the thing is, that knight on h1 is not coming out. we'll just castle queenside, we'll take that knight even if we play king e2. We'll be precise here as white. Black has really no attack, no development whatsoever. So even if we play knight f3 first, we're not at risk. We can castle, that knight's gone, and then we'll have two minor pieces for the rook. Not only that, we can also bank on the fact that king on f8 is not well placed. So overall, a winning position for white already. This is another line that our opponents may fall for. They'll think, oh, there's a free rook on h1. They may not notice that we can offload the knight on f8, and then we take the knight on h1. So that's a pretty good line for us. Now, what else can black play? Knight takes c3 check. That's a big blunder because we play bishop e3, and again, the knight on d7, black hasn't captured that knight yet. We can take it, we can offload it on f8, and here, after knight takes b1, we take the bishop first, and then we'll just win a piece. So, any other knight move black can think of? Was it my c5 maybe? Well, here black is playing with fire because black could easily get the same line by playing knight f6 check and knight takes e7, but here, by placing the knight on c5, black has given us extra chances on the queen side. Think about it, the bishop on e3, the queen on d4, the pawn on a7, will have a queenside attack, so black is just taking on unnecessary risk. Now, the e-file is ours, queen c4, pawn on a7 hanging, knight a3, knight b5. It doesn't look bad, but the more you look into it, the more you realize how lost black is here, and the engine agrees. The engine says this is plus 1.8. That's a winning advantage for white already. We're move 12, so that says a lot about these lines. Now, coming back to knight takes d7, that's our last move in the game. Black plays knight f6. Now, here's the deal. This is the best move order for black for a reason. We still play bishop e3, that's our plan. We want to just clear, all the tactics. We took on d7, we just want to get our pieces out, establish our nice center, symmetrical pawn structure with more space. That's what we want to do. In fact, we can probably pre-move bishop e3 no matter what black does. So we still play bishop e3 here, but now black takes with the queen. That's what makes knight f6 the best line for black. Black takes with the queen, the knight controls the e4 square, black queen controls the queen side, so we cannot really play queen a4. We don't have too many targets on the queen side yet, so I think this is the best setup for black compared to the other lines we just saw where black is in trouble. At least here black is with a solid foundation, let's put it that way. I still think white's better because we've got more space, but that being said, black is rock solid. So after queen takes e7, white played what I think is a great move here, and that is pawn to h3. Not an easy move to play. I think it's key to stop something like queen g4, because black would be delighted to trade queens off, and if our idea is to have and get as much space as possible, then h3 is the way to go. So here we see how white is building up a nice pawn structure, getting more and more space. Think about it, we've got the bishop on e3, so that means we should place most of our pawns on white squares. That makes our bishop on e3 even stronger. And also, if we look at black's bishop on e7, that bishop does not have great diagonals, so we want to have a better bishop. So bishop e3 is better than bishop e7, and we also have a better pawn structure. So black castles, we play knight c3 as white, and again, this is one of those lines where black is extremely solid, but we can tell black is lacking space. The pawn on d5 says it all. We've got more space on the queen side, we've got more space on the king side, so this is the type of positions we are aiming for when we play the Ponziani. Now, and this is, when black plays the right lines. As we saw in this chapter, there are a lot of lines along the way where black can just simply make a big mistake and end up with a losing position. So with this game, what I'm trying to tell you, what I'm trying to show, is that we're playing a very reliable line for white, where the chances of getting an advantage are decent, high probabilities of getting a position like this, that an engine will tell you it's equal, maybe white slightly better, but in practice, having more space, having no weaknesses, no targets for our opponents to attack, there's a big upside. And here, we're the ones in control. We're the ones deciding when to push our pawns, what to do on the files. It's a big advantage. So this is, we'll stop our analysis here for the intro. We'll probably come back to this game to see what happened after move 14. But for the intro, I really want to show you what happens to the Ponziani when black makes a mistake early on in the opening, and also the quiet side when black plays the right lines and we get a position like this, which is what we are aiming for.